Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Well, it is Monday. We got some, this is going to be a really interesting week in the markets, at least. Could it be like a really dull and boring week? It could be. I mean, that's kind of what it was doing last week. Well, let's just go to the charts first, and then we'll talk about that. So here in the 10-year Treasury, so the big news over the weekend is that there was a surprise win by one of the conservative candidates in Japan. This wasn't like the prime minister election, but it was like, you know, the party elections. A woman. And so the Japanese yen just, it did some interesting things. And the treasuries are lower as a result, wiping out the gains that we got after the ADP. So, yeah, where is the yen here? Yeah, over here. You can see the yen pretty considerably lower over the weekend, and the dollar slightly stronger as a result, but mostly the yen weaker. Okay, here is the S&P 500. They seem to be taking it okay. They haven't been hit. I mean, if it really does result in meaningfully higher interest rates, then that might not hold. We'll see. Oil. Okay, oil is seeing a little bit of a jump here. So what's been going on is OPEC said that they were going to increase capacity. Actually, it was going to be like 500,000 barrels a day. And that is what just absolutely crushed oil. But now they're saying that actually it's only like 135,000 barrels a day or something like that. So a lot less than the market was expecting. So I don't know what that means in terms of price. I really wish that I was sophisticated enough to draw these, you know, like these Excel spreadsheets with supply and demands curves and all that. But, you know, just based on what I'm hearing, it wouldn't surprise me to see the other side of this range. So there's oil, gold and silver. So it seems like that there is a debasement trade going on, and this time around, gold is benefiting, silver is benefiting. And by the way, some of these moves that silver is like just casually canceling out are big moves. Still not to 50 though. It's close, but it's not to 50. Copper is also rallying. I don't know, I have to go to a daily chart. Can't even see when this whole thing started back here, but pretty good uptrend since then. Yeah. Then we already saw the yen, so we'll skip that one real quick. And we got Bitcoin. It looks like Bitcoin did touch like a new all-time high, because wasn't August 12th like the all-time high? So yeah, I mean, that's an interesting trend as well. But it goes along with a lot of these other commodities too, right? At first I thought, well, this is just Michael Saylor. But I think it might be more than that. I think some other people might be getting into it. Herwin adds a dovish into their banking system, but why are our yields rising from it? Okay, so the kind of the context we got to keep in mind is that lately the Bank of Japan has been raising interest rates. They kind of wanted to get some inflation, and I think that they got a little bit more than they bargained for. And they've been struggling right along with the rest of the global economy. And so things have been rough in Japan. So this woman being put in kind of suggests a reversal in those policies to some extent. So they're kind of expecting, like you said, her win adds a dovish into their banking system. So that would kind of imply that their central bank would not be as hawkish dovish, right? But that is hurting their currency. So basically, you're getting a debasement trade in the Japanese yen, and that is causing capital to flee the Japanese yen. Okay. So why is it affecting our interest rates? Well, because there's a pretty strong positive correlation between treasuries and the Japanese yen. So if the Japanese yen is going down, is becoming worth less, then that's less money buying power to buy treasuries, because they're one of the biggest buyers of the treasuries. Now, when you start to look at it from a money flow perspective, it might get more complicated than that, right? Because maybe this policy means that they will start to buy more dollars, and that it actually ends up being a positive for the dollar and a positive for US treasuries. So you could see later this week a bunch of buying come in. Who knows? I guess if they were to buy, it would probably be much later, probably after she becomes prime minister, which isn't for a few months. Well, November. I think their election is November. So, at the moment, I think it is just the yen getting weaker and the treasuries falling in sympathy because of correlations. Okay. So, that's why I'm kind of looking over here like, I don't know about this. Like, wouldn't higher interest rates kind of hurt a large portion of the theory for the rally in equities? And ergo, hurt equities this morning? Well, it could. Because you got to remember that even though there is like the overnight, and they will make overnight moves in the equities, most of those guys don't come in and start being active until about 30 minutes before the open. So we could see here during our session equities sell off, and in fact, I'm not an equities trader, and I don't know everything else that's going on over there this week. And I've just historically had bad luck with them. So I'm not going to like put myself up on a like, okay, let's track this and hold me accountable to it or whatever. But I think that the play might be to sell equities over there. Sell equities, and then if equities sell off strongly enough, maybe the treasuries will come back up. But we'll see. So on that note, I guess I should, well, you know what? Let's wait. So I want to do something real quick here at the beginning of our session. I was looking at the performance of our robot, and it looks to me like, interestingly enough, that you get a pretty wide range of actually, some of this doesn't make sense. Yeah, some of this doesn't make sense because it should. Basically everything is on the zero line, and I don't think that that's right. Basically saying that like it gets a lot of favorable excursion and a lot of unfavorable excursion, but in the end it tends to get out right where it got in at. Which I don't think makes sense. Like if I come in here and I say, like maybe net profit on these. This And I'm doing it from the beginning of the year. Maybe if I take it like that. I don't know. It sure looks to me like that if we came in and we just gave it a really skewed win-loss ratio, that, well, actually, maybe not, because this is skewed a lot more. So, like, if you look at, oh my gosh, where did I closed the pen down, didn't I? Yeah. What do you think about gold? I think that gold and silver will probably continue to rally. Oh, I don't need that. I can close that. So, like, I think that the slope of this, positive is not as much as the slope of this negative, you know? When you said debasement trade, where is the money flowing to? Is there even a specific one? I would say gold, silver, and Bitcoin. And maybe even commodities in general. Because you're seeing movement in copper. You're seeing, well, you were seeing movement in oil. So maybe it's just all commodities. I'm kind of tempted to come in here and just say, if you get even 2 ticks positive, you know, and see how it goes, and then allow it to have a -4 on the other side. I'm not 100% sure how it will come out based on these stats. But it doesn't look like the entry efficiency is all that good. So another thing that I could do. I'm kind of wondering, so what happens is we get a move up, right? And then it will enter in here. And it will go a little bit, and then it will reverse. Right? Sometimes it ends up being like a really good trend, right? But so it's unclear to me from the stats if this scenario is more common than this scenario. But I'm kind of thinking, what if you get the signal and then you try and take a pick like 2 ticks higher than that for the reversal? And how would that go? You're up 30% on an open eye AMD is up. Not I am up. AMD is up 30% pre-market on an open AI deal. Oh wow. Yeah, that would be big. You know, I really wonder about this market, man. Because from everything that I can see, pretty much everybody is struggling except for artificial intelligence, except for AI. I'm also kind of wondering if I should there's like some AI certifications that I can get or something, because there's a lot of demand for that, and I'm finding that I know a lot more about it than most other software developers for some reason. So whatever. Maybe I could go and be a automation engineer over there, but what do you think about quantum? They're all up 100%. Yeah. Well, I mean, quantum computing was one of my spots where I was like, I think we should get in there. But it's all about money flow. Like the thing is, we want to approach it from a value perspective. Oh, okay. So they could be worth this much in the future, but we don't really actually know if it's going to turn out that way. Yada, yada. Have they gotten ahead of themselves, right? But the reality is that especially right now, that's not really what determines the price. What determines the price is people putting money into it, right? And so I think that is one of the places that I think you have the most upside. You're probably going to continue to see people put money into it unless there's like a recession, you know? Otherwise, maybe it just goes flat for a while. But who knows? Some of these stocks have gone up so much and we think that they're so crazy, and then they go way, way further, you know? That's a really hard call to make. But I'm still kind of sitting here going like, okay, they're putting all of the money into compute and artificial intelligence. Who's going to buy stuff? Who's going to buy stuff? This whole economy has been driven by consumer spending, but not really evenly across the board. It's those top earners are responsible for like 50% of discretionary spending or something like that. Like, it's these insane bifurcated numbers. And I just don't understand or I can't wrap my head around how you can have so much of the country suffering and not get a recession. Unless the numbers are all just very, very wrong. Which could also be the case. Well, we got one interest rate cut. We're probably going to get another one. The market is a little bit about a third one, but it also kind of seems to be leaning on a third one, which is a little surprising to me, but I guess we're on the longer end of the curve. They don't think that they're going to do it much beyond that, or that they might do 3 and then pause, which is kind of, I think, makes sense with the way that the Federal Reserve operates and everything, the way that they tend to do things 3 and then see how it goes. Yeah, probably. But that should help. That should help a little. I do think in some respects things have gotten better. So I found out on Friday that the company I'm contracting for is not going to hire me on. Mostly just because they're not willing to come up to the pay range that the job at my skill level demands. So I kind of think that they can afford it, but they're saying that they can't afford it. I still, anyways, so like, and it's like, it's a terrible market out there. So I'm sitting here thinking about this, like, okay, well, like in terms of job openings, it's gotten worse, hasn't it? Actually, I think over the last month it got slightly better, but like, well, let's come to Forex Factory here. And let's go to last week. Play settings. Oh, and we got to do all the events. And it was on Tuesday, wasn't it? Jolts. There we go. Yeah. Pretty consistently. So, I got this particular contract job in April. Things got better in July, and now they're back down in September, apparently. Or does that say September, not October? I don't know. Whatever. So, like, it's gotten worse. It's gotten worse. But when I do searching, I found way more jobs than I remember. I applied to a bunch last night. Like, I was seeing them post over the weekend. Should come in and look right now. So I don't know if maybe markets are already, maybe the job market is already responding to the lower interest rates? I don't know. There's one. Posted in the past 24 hours. I think that one. One of the things is that they did give me an offer that wasn't. Well, I think it was like 20% less. But that was better than not having anything, right? But I have to travel 40 minutes there. That's terrible. So I am looking at this like, well, anything that's that amount or more and is a remote job, I could take. Wow, that one's really good. What do you think about 3i Atlas? That one's been an interesting thing, but one of the thing that's interesting about 3i Atlas is not all of the oddities and interesting things about the, I guess we're gonna call it a Comet now itself, but all of the social media around it, because I'll see all of this reporting on TikTok, and I don't know if you can trust it. You know, it's like, wow, that's like a really nice 3D animation. How did you come up with that so quickly? Oh, AI. But like maybe AI is making up all of the facts, right? So I don't know if any of the things that these videos are saying about it are true or not. Because I know that people have like sensationalized it so much. Yeah, and Sora too. So there's been a couple of, oh man, Sora is so weird because there are some parts of it that are 100% realistic. Like definitely most of the AI generated videos that I've seen so far from Sora, initially I totally bought into them, but then the second time I watched them through, I would see like the telltale signs. Like one of them that I saw was this video where a bear jumps into a lady's bedroom. Like the bear just jumps into the bedroom, but through the window. And it totally looks real, but there's you can't see the glass break in the window. It's like the AI can't do glass breaking. So, yeah. You're getting to this point where, like, you could just fake things. And it's only a matter of time before those models get better. Well, I don't know. I'm sure that there will probably be some little things that, like, it'll take them years and years and years to fix, so that there might still be some signs. But like, if it's just a video of somebody saying something, that's gonna be easy to fake. So how are you gonna trust? I think it's funny. This could just play back into traditional media's hands, right? Isn't that weird to think about? Like, the whole thing was everybody has access to information, everybody has access to publishing, and so it wasn't as valuable to be one of those gatekeepers in the media. And a lot of it was that people felt like that the media wasn't being fair in their coverage, which is absolutely true. So everybody moved to alternative media sources because of that. But now are you going to get back into a place where alternative media sources aren't reliable enough anymore because they can be fooled so easily by fake video? So I think that like what you would consider, like, I don't know, what would be like the worst one I could call out? Like the least reliable, like InfoWars. Okay, right? Like I think InfoWars would still be okay because they would be like, well, they still have an organization and everything to be able to actually do real reporting, right? But the kind of reporting that's just like some guy that was in the area is tweeting about it sort of a thing, nobody's going to believe those anymore. One way or another, they'll render political discourse futile. Well, that takes me back to the thing that I was saying last week. I think you might have not have been here for that, but basically, there's this, and I have it in the Discord in the political analysis channel if you want to read the article. But the article was basically making the case that the things that we're seeing in the political sphere are really just a symptom of the world changing in a way that actively works against our institutions. This is important to understand. This comes back into, this is the challenge before us, our generation, the thing that we have to figure out, and will we be able to do it or not? It's a little bit too high. The thing that drives me crazy about any of the discussion, especially on TikTok, about capitalism versus socialism and all of this sort of stuff, is that people don't seem to even understand the solution space here. The reason that in the modern world we have become so massively successful, we have so much compared to past generations, is because of financial markets. Because basically, you have this issue where there's information about supply and demand that needs to be shared with competitors of yours, people on the other side. On normal circumstances, it is to your advantage to not tell anybody. But with financial markets, you can make money from the financial markets, and that provides an incentive for people to share that information. So some people have this idea that maybe you could have a centrally managed economy if it was all centrally managed by artificial intelligence. Well, but how would artificial intelligence do that? Because there's all of this information that you have to collect together. So you would have to do something like each AI would have to report to a centralized exchange and make a bid on, that particular resource or whatever. And then the value of that resource would have to change based on the supply and demand. Oh, wait, that's the financial markets that already exist. So maybe in the future, you could have a future where only AIs participate in the market. But you would still have to have a market. There's no other way. You have to collect all of the information together. And that's what a market is. Also, to have a market, there has to be private ownership of capital. That's kind of a prerequisite to have a market, right? So those are the two keys, those two things. And really, because we've had like what you could call capitalism, like people being able to make transactions with each other and so on and so forth. That's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. But it wasn't until, like the late 1800s that we got like these centralized stock exchanges, corporations, things like that. And that's when things really, really took off. And then the internet came along and you got electronic financial markets, things really took off. And that's why we have grown so much. Okay. This is why China, a communist country, has adopted free markets and private ownership of capital to some extent over there. Because the evidence, like the the straight up empirical scientific evidence that basically there's this bottleneck in the economy that you simply cannot solve without having some form of a market is just overwhelming. It's just overwhelming. But here's the thing. Everything else is up for discussion, I think. Everything else is up for discussion. And, the issue that I think we're seeing right now is that China has a financial market and private ownership of capital to some extent, but they also still have a lot of centralization. And there's a lot of problems with that, but there's also a lot of advantages to that. And we are struggling. The United States is struggling to adapt in that world. Like, quite frankly, on the path that we are on right now, I'm not sure that we would be competitive in 50 years. I kind of feel like there's going to need to be a change in direction. Now, that requirement for a change in direction is exactly why I think that the freedoms that we enjoy in the West compared to China is exactly why this is a better system. Because we can adapt. And I hope that we will. Just hope that we got to adapt in the right direction. It's not entirely certain, but like that's where the advantage should be, is that we should be more flexible and adaptable, right? Dictatorships are essential. The entirety of our political discourse is just fighting over the underlying ideology it'll have and struggling to cope with the fact that centralized power, a thing we've been educated against, is the only solution. Well, let's not say it's the only solution, but I think you're right. The pressure that we're seeing is because there are advantages to centralized power, and we are struggling to adapt and deal with that. Yes. So I think that the article that I'm talking about was kind of suggesting that, again, Donald Trump is a symptom, not a problem, and that the kind of tactics that Donald Trump is utilizing are really a matter of that's what works. Like Donald Trump, in the end, is pragmatic to his detriment. He will do what he thinks will be effective, and he doesn't care what anybody thinks, or if it's against the norms, or heck, even if it's unconstitutional, right? Because he plays the game the way that the Democrats have been playing. Oh, it's unconstitutional? Okay, then I'm going to do it anyways and let your courts figure it out over a year or 2 years. Let's see what happens, right? It'll be interesting to see with the thing with the tariffs, because I'm not sure if he really actually does have the authority to enact tariffs the way that he has. I mean, like, I know that he has multiple ways through which the law could potentially allow him to enact tariffs, but I'm not sure if the conditions really actually fit in. And probably the Supreme Court, I think, will rule in his favor. If it was like a super left-wing, if we were like the shoe was on the other foot and the Supreme Court was as left as it is right now, then maybe he would lose that battle. But I also kind of think if it was like even, he would maybe win. Maybe even in a case where it was a left wing, maybe he would win. Just because if they were to smack down his tariffs and order them to like pay restitution for all of the tariffs that they collected, that would be devastating. Like, not just to the presidency, but like to the economy. That would be brutal. Oh my gosh. Can you believe it? Like for the deficit and like it would be very, very bad for the US government. But that's kind of the thing is he can come in and he can say, I'm going to do this thing. Come stop me. And then to go through the whole process to stop him, it's kind of like maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you shouldn't, even if you're right that he can't impose a tariff like that. He did it. And trying to cancel out that decision would probably be worse than the pain that has been inflicted from the initial decision. And that's what he does. And that's what, frankly, it's a tactic that they learned from Democrats. It's just like, oh, we don't like the immigration laws, we'll just not enforce them. Make us, right? So you come in and you have somebody that just strong arms things. But like this whole thing, like that's the direction the world is moving. These rare earth resources are becoming a bigger and bigger deal. And a lot of this is done in like rogue mines and things like that. How do you deal with that? You have to make deals with partners, and some of these partners are not official countries either, you know? So like the whole like this whole thing of like Donald Trump going and holding a tariff over a country and then the country coming back and saying, well, we pledge that we will invest X billion dollars into the United States and that sort of a thing. I bet you that becomes more common. I bet you that even if the next president were a Democrat, that he would also do those sorts of deals. Because that's where the world is going. And I'm also going to bet that tariffs overall is going to be something that is going to become more and more common. The thing I'm expecting next is going to be tariffs against to prevent exporting tech labor outside the United States. It's really funny to me. They keep saying, oh, we don't have enough talent in the United States. We can't keep up with other countries on, because we're not doing enough STEM. We're not building enough these people, right? But then they're like doing everything they can to discourage people from pursuing that. It's too expensive. So they like do everything to discourage people. So, computer science is already oversaturated. Well, if we're really going in the direction that we think we are, that like everybody thinking that computer science is oversaturated is like the worst thing that could happen right now, So yeah, probably maybe even before midterms, I think that Donald Trump is going to put something in there like some tax so that if you are outsourcing or nearshoring a tech worker, there's an extra tax on it. I think this is going to happen. And I think that you're going to see like even Democrat presidents do things like that. Because like really, if all of our tech workers get outsourced to India and while we're trying to bring manufacturing back, but Democrats think that manufacturing is not going to come back, then what are people supposed to do? Import, export their population. Well, I don't know, Izzy. I mean, that has been kind of like the strategy of some countries, but it's not going too well. Did you see or I saw a headline, read a story, wasn't just I saw the headline, I read the story about it. That like it's legal to marry your cousin in the UK now? Like, I don't think it's going well for the UK. Like, of course, there's still the diehards like George Soros that is totally all in on this sort of a strategy. But I think that populations have turned against it, that they've seen that there's some real costs to that kind of strategy and that that's not the way that we want to go. Oh, it was, and they would just not make it illegal? Oh, well, I'm wrong if that's the case. But in either case, like, it seems to me that the demographic nature of the UK has been so permanently altered that, like, there's no stopping it now. And it might not even be unrealistic to predict that it will be like a Islamic State in 50 years. I really don't see how it can be turned around. I really, yeah, it can't. Like the middle class white people are just not going to have enough kids. Yeah. So I remember you arguing that with me. I don't remember arguing about this specific thing, but I'm not, I don't know if you can turn the UK around now. Yeah. I could see myself saying, okay, I could see myself, he says you don't even play. I don't remember having a discussion about that specific point ever before. Like, and I think this is the first time I've talked about it. Well, maybe not, but there's certainly been a lot of things that have happened in the past year that have made it clear that, like, the UK is probably permanently changed, right? Well, I'd have to go back and find what we absolutely said. Would have an Islamic State in the next century? I don't think that I would say it was that's crazy. Now I think that's hyperbole. I think that probably what I would have said is that it's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed, that there's still things that could change it. But and hey, in like Europe itself, like in Germany and in France, there could still change. That could, I think. But in the UK, I don't know if they can turn that one around, because in the UK, they already have enough political power to affect national politics, right? I think they will stop at an Islamic State. Maybe you're right. Like, I think that in the UK, I think that there will probably be a lot of laws and things that we will not like, but I think that it will stop short of there being a straight up caliphate there. Yeah. That's probably true too. Or it's probably more likely to be more like Turkey, you know? But in the United States, I really think people are turning against it in the United States. We're gonna see. I don't know, man. Politics can change so quickly. The thing that strikes me about the current state of US politics is that from my perspective, I don't think that the Trump administration is going so great. Which is to say that there's a lot of people hurting out there. There's a lot of, like, things have just gotten more divisive and have escalated more, right? So I would not expect Donald Trump to be doing well politically. I would not expect Republicans to be doing well politically. And yet, from every indication that I see from polling and whatnot, he's as good as ever. Like, he has a ceiling on his support or whatever, but it's holding. It's sticking with him. Which suggests to me that it is that Americans kind of see this larger choice, essentially, between having open borders and importing third world countries and basically losing American culture, or enforcing our borders and maintaining the nature of the country as it is today. And it seems like that a large enough portion of people have come down on that side, come to that conclusion, that that's like one of the largest factors behind why the politics are the way that they are. And that despite how bad things are getting, that nobody takes the Democrats seriously. You know?
Yep.
Apparently I need to take a child to school. Think about this. We'll continue this in a second. Okay, we're back. And it doesn't seem like it did kill. Probably the music got really loud there for a bit, didn't it? Anyways, the point of that was not to go on an anti-immigration rant or anything like that, but just to say that it seems like the political tides on that is turning. We'll see if it's too late for certain countries, but pretty much every Western country is seeing pretty big pushback on this stuff. And again, when I look at things like this, I don't think that it's that like, oh, people had a change of heart or something like that. I think that it's that the system is evolving and the incentives are changing. A lot of people are sitting here like, well, why are we bowling all of these people in here when you can't even do good by me? I think that's what people are thinking. So kind of where I was trying to go with that is I think that if there's going to be a place where we can make some changes to become more effective and remain competitive, I think that it is going to be changes in work itself. Like, so the whole like socialism versus capitalism thing, it's like a moot point. Capitalism won. Even China is basically has private ownership of capital and financial markets, right? There's a lot of central control over it, which is maybe kind of almost fascist, but hey, it is it's not really socialist anymore, is it? Right? But there's a lot of problems that they have over there with work. Like the amount that people work and like, I don't think that they're getting the most out of people. But I don't think that the United States is getting the most out of people. I think so many companies are just so ridiculously inefficient. It's just mind-boggling to me sometimes. There are some of these things where it was like, if I was just doing all the work, I think I'd do it faster than this team. And like, if AI really, man, I really don't think that AI can automate all of the jobs, but I do think that it can make the jobs faster. I think that there's going to have to be a lot more of companies hiring people just to have the head count, and I think it might shift. And will it be that companies do it on their own, or will there have to be regulations that come in? Yeah. I think AI is a bubble, says Uzi. Well, yeah, somebody pointed out that AMD deal earlier. 38% for a company like AMD is just bonkers. The Oracle, now Oracle came back, but that is just bonkers. And it is like a circular thing too. There's the chip makers. I don't know how. How does it go? There's like the chip makers. There is the AI companies, and there's the big tech. Right? So what's happening is OpenAI is investing in AMD, and then AMD will come back and will be like, we're investing in Oracle. And then Oracle will be like, oh, we're giving X much to AI. And it's just this circular, it's just money's going around in a circle. And because of stock valuations and the way that the stock market works and everything, it keeps going up because of this circle. But if something breaks the circle, I think that it is very likely to collapse. So I don't like to use the word bubble, because the word bubble means that valuations have gotten ahead of themselves too much, essentially. And that when a valuation gets too far ahead of itself, that it is inevitable that it will come back. And I do not believe that to be the case. Or at least we have not proven that to be the case. So instead, I would say, I think that there is a very large risk of strong selling in this whole sector if something started the chain reaction going. Very likely. AMD up 38%. Like the Oracle one, I was kind of like, well, I think that will come back. The AMD one, I'm not as sure about. Shall we look? We need to come out to a daily chart. Wow. Okay, so that takes AMD back up to its all-time high from the beginning of this year. That's a very curious. There it is. Oh, you know what? Oracle didn't come all the way back. It did come quite a bit back. So, So on Sunday, I was getting a lot of TikToks about artificial intelligence. Man, where's my fidget cube? Oh, well. I was getting all of these videos of these people being like, I think AI is in a bubble, blah, 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 blah. But then they were saying like, yeah, we're spending all this money and doing all of this compute and stuff, and all anybody's doing for it is making videos of bears crashing through windows. They can't show the glass breaking and yada, 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 yada. And it was really annoying to me that TikTok was showing me these videos over and over, and I kept getting to the same point and being like, well, this guy has no clue what they're talking about. Because artificial intelligence absolutely helps me do my job better. For one thing, just having that feedback loop of going back and forth between me and the AI makes me more productive. Might be things that I would have figured out on my own anyways, that I would have gone through the internet, but probably wouldn't have stayed as engaged as long and gotten it done as quickly. So there's that. And then there are other things where the AI is able to give me information way faster than I could find it online myself. And there are cases where the AI can sort of automate and do tasks, especially tasks across a wide array. You know, like if I have to import 100 resources into my Terraform state, going into the dashboard and looking them all up and copying them over, total pain in the butt. But AI can do that in a few minutes, and it does a pretty good job at that. And you know, once you work in the correct context engineering and everything to it, can be really effective. And I can, you know, there are some use cases here. Like, for instance, our taking our understanding of the news and how that applies to the flows today. We had enough good data sources to be able to feed into the AI. We could do that. That's something that if I was at a large trading firm, that's what I'd be doing right now, right? So I think that it is foolish to say that the AI doesn't accomplish anything. It seems to me that AI has a lot of use cases, and that AI is probably the single largest deflationary source that humankind will ever see. I just don't think that it replaces humans. I think that there's a lot of use, and I think that we are getting a lot of growth out of the economy from it, but I don't think it replaces humans. And I do think that it's gotten way ahead of itself. Like, I don't think that artificial intelligence is going to be able to produce the revenues that are expected by the market quickly enough for that trade to continue. Right? Fire department put out my kitchen fire. Their fire buildings never burn down. Well, I think that you're going to see the amount that it's going to help people across the board, man. Lawyers benefit from it greatly. Doctors benefit from it greatly. Tech people benefit, like all the white collar work becomes more productive with AI. Almost everything. And it's coming. It's only a few years away where the robotic revolution comes next. So we already talked about a couple of investment themes that are kind of already like maybe played out. Well, robotics has been another one that has been up big too. But that one's much earlier. So especially if we had like a recession or something like that, you know, or a 10 to 20% decline in the market, which I also think is probably pretty likely in the next year. Like a recession, probably not, but a 10 to 20% decline in the stock market, almost certainly. I would probably buy robotics, because I think that the robotic revolution is coming next. And I don't know which use cases the robots are going to be the most common for, but it's coming. And I also kind of think AMD in particular soaring 38% on one deal is a little silly. Don't you think? Seems a little silly to me. But I need to move on from that. We got to talk. Because I already mentioned it once, but the contract job that I've got going is ending. So I will be out of a job again on the 16th. Unless something magically changes and they decide, actually, we do need you. We will pay you that much. But you know what? Can I be honest? Don't tell anybody this. Don't tell my wife this. If they turned around and gave me the salary that I was looking for, I would be a little disappointed. Because the truth of the matter is, I have been miserable the past 6 months. It's really frustrating to me. It's like, of course, we need a job. We need to be able to do some things. I would kind of like, to be able to, work in office and things like that. And maybe it's mostly just down to the specifics of that job, and many of which have nothing to do with them. I mean, I do think the situation, like being in a contract role for 6 months and not knowing if it's going to be continue or not, and not knowing your future is really grating and really wears you down. But driving 90 minutes a day is also really draining. And having to end my live stream an hour early sucks. And not having any time ever to make videos sucks. And wanting to build my own trading platform or work on trying to promote my trading indicators, it sucks. I want to do those things. So in the long run, I think it's better I go and I find a different job, maybe even for less than they were offering me, but that's closer. That's only like a 20-minute drive, right? Or that is remote. No, I do kind of, if I get another remote job, I need to spend more time, more effort doing like community networking things. But so that kind of puts us into, we might have some more time to spend on the stream again. And what should we do with it? Well, before I made a lot of video content. And none of that content really took off, unfortunately. A lot of those were videos that I just wanted to make. I think, what do you guys think? Do you have some recommendations or some videos that you want me to make? I think the one that I want to make, and I feel like I've made a video like this before, but maybe in different ways, and it wasn't like the highlight of the video. But basically, like, what are the most important tools? You know, like, I really think that having a news squawk benefits you, right? I think there are a lot of the indicators, like particularly being able to look at the dollar index, being able to look at spreads is an important tool, especially if you're trading futures. I think that having tools to look at volatility, it kind of seems to me that you can get that one done without having to pay for it. But if you pay for it, even better. You know, like, these are tools. And the truth is, most of these tools are paid. There are cheaper versions. My gosh. You know what part of it is it just kind of pisses me off to see people charging so much for NinjaTrader indicators out there. That really bothers me. It's like, I have a way better package. I have a way better package than some of these yahoos that are offering just complete trash for like $50 a month sometimes. It's crazy. It's crazy to me. We gotta fix that, guys. We gotta do something. You gotta help me. Because the truth is I just don't think I know what I don't know, what I gotta do to break out there. But for the good of all NinjaTrader users everywhere, I got to do it. You know? You're a difficult personnel. Yeah. Well, I'm sitting here like the difficulty is, what are the actions I can actually take? Right? So what is the specific action that you want me to take? No. Sometimes, you know, thinking back on discussions like this in the past, what I often find is we have suggestions that I'm kind of like, well, aren't we already doing that? You know? That's maybe why sometimes I come down on, maybe it's just not a solvable problem. Maybe you just have to keep pushing until you get lucky. You know? But if it was like, you keep pushing until you get lucky on the YouTube channel, right? Well, I think that actually we did get lucky sometimes. There were some videos that really took off, right? And it was just kind of like, yeah, but then that didn't result in the rest of the channel being successful. Because, like, for instance, if you want to make a video about trading computers, like, I don't think that's like you can make a viable YouTube channel completely off of trading computers, right? Meanwhile, like, how many videos have I actually made to promote Indicator Suite, for instance? Not many. So if I switched to, like, we're going to make a bunch of videos and they all have to reinforce the services that we're selling, and we do that until we get lucky, maybe it would be a different thing. Maybe we just work on our training platform. Maybe I just focus on getting some certifications. I'm kind of leaning at the moment on, like, maybe if I had, like, these certain cloud platform certifications, I would do better. Because, oh, it's the first time, you guys? Well, welcome. Thank you for stopping by. You should come earlier because we end in like 10 minutes. No, when you really think about it, I've been doing cloud engineering in some form basically as long as the cloud has been around. I have a lot of experience. I have a lot of good experience. I have experience at really large companies and really large distributed systems. So why is it so often, like, I feel like there's so many jobs where I was like, oh, I'm perfect. Like, there's clearly, surely there's not anybody else in Utah that can do that. And then I just get ignored. What's with that? I don't think it can be explained by they were fake jobs. I know that there's those, but there's ones that they do disappear. I do think they hired somebody and they didn't hire me, and I don't, what's going on? What am I missing? They're overlooking me. There can't be that. Well, if there was somebody that's been at Google, like, you know, they worked for Google for 15 years. They came into the industry same time as I did, but they worked the whole time at Google. That would be, you know, that I would probably hire that person, right? But the only thing I can think of is maybe they want certifications. And since I don't have the certifications, even though I've been doing the work for years, right? I think I'm good at that sort of a thing. So I could go and get a program and study, and I could probably still do the other stuff too. Hopefully we will be able to actually work. The online posting was just for legality, and they probably already knew who was going into the position before they posted. Maybe, I mean, that might be true too. I don't know, man. So there's this economist that I don't like, because that really pisses me off is when you get economists that go outside their lane. Okay, if your specialty is healthcare insurance, because you're a big lefty, don't come and talk about interest rates. You don't know what's going on. Seen this girl, Krebs. She does it a lot. I don't know if I don't think her specialty is healthcare. But it is kind of more political. Her specialties are more political. But she was talking about labor markets, and she was saying some interesting things. Some of her ideas sounded like really terrible to me. So, like, one of the things is she said that companies should be required to pay interviewees for their time. I don't think that one would work. Because first, how much would they have to pay? Because you would have to make it a significant amount for it to be, you know, because if it's only just like, it's an hour for an interview and they only have to pay minimum wage, so it's only like $5. Like, the company's going to scoff at that, right? It's not going to be until it's into the hundreds of dollars that it would cause the company to be like, maybe we shouldn't make you interview all these people. And I understand company is spending that worker's time to interview you too. So they are spending some resources on it. Right. And then if you do get it to the point where it does affect the company's behavior, that just means less interviews, right? Less interviews. So maybe in other market times, that would be a benefit. But right now, I don't think it would be very good because you would just have this slew of people that wouldn't, like even more people that don't get any interviews at all. So I don't know if that would work. But I like the thinking. Like, I like the thinking along those lines. Like, how can we create an incentive to, like, not post ghost jobs? Right? Things like that. And not just, like, tell them, oh, it's illegal, and then them do everything that they can to try and get around it and show that they actually are. Oh, my wife needs to go. What? There was, anyways, maybe we can make some changes there, like, because again, like this whole thing that like our earnings are bad, let's just do layoffs so that the stock stays high, regardless of the negative impact that we know that it has on companies long term, right? I really think that we should do something about that. You know? Complex thing, though. Probably outside of my lane. It's kind of funny. It's kind of like, okay, here's my lane. Well, they're never going to do anything about my lane. So maybe I should start going to other lanes. You know, there is a little bit of a trend starting here in the treasuries, but I'd say it's been a pretty quiet Monday. I'd say it's been quieter than the last 2 or 3 Mondays, and doesn't give me a lot of confidence in the rest of the week for the treasuries. Perhaps that can change. I don't know. But it was to the upside. I would like to see interest rates come back down a bit. We'll see. Anyways, think about specific things that you would like for us to do after the 16th. Something that I don't find another job. I might be more, you know, applying to a wider variety of things. So I will catch you guys tomorrow. Stay excellent, team.